Yeah. This a that mix a match. Now she pros.
We have Anaja, is a New Jersey raised singer and model who co-founded the Art Co Collective. And this is a platform that promotes the visibility of artists of color. So this is really a dynamic and sort of amazing effort that she's working on. And she's also collaborated with the likes of Nike, American Eagle, Marc Jacobs, and so much more, and has been featured in magazines such as The Cut, Couture, and Paper. So can we all give a round of applause for her?
Okay, so hi, my name is Anaja Hamilton. I am a singer-songwriter, performance arts curator for Art Co Collective, and a model here in New York City. And I decided to just make my first song. It's called 4 AM, and it got like 100,000 plays on SoundCloud, which was really crazy because like nobody really be on SoundCloud like that. But I was like, let me just try and see what happens. And that was really like what pushed me to like put myself out there. And I was really excited because I'm a person, I'm kind of an introvert in real life. And I was really nervous to just push myself and go out there and make music. I don't know what was stopping me. I guess I was just stopping myself because nobody was telling me I couldn't do it. So my first biggest project with music was a collaboration I did with Nike in 2017. They commissioned me to make a music video for the Air Max 1997 sneakers. And it was because I was turning the same age as the sneaker. 2 years ago, I was turning 20. So I was like, okay, me and the sneaker cousins, let me make this video. So I made a really great music video, and this was my first time like learning how to collaborate with people, like finding a stylist and makeup artist and like a videographer and people who wanted to perform in the video. And I edited the video, I choreographed it, I styled it, but I had someone shoot it because I couldn't do it myself because I was in it. But it was great. It was my first big project, and it really showed people that I was able to make stuff. So some ways that I do my creative process, this is what I'll just leave you guys with before I end. I carry a journal everywhere I go, and I think that's something that I think everyone should do, because if you're a creative being, you're always being creative. You're never going to just be creative in the space that you create for yourself, like in your bedroom or in the studio. Like, you need a journal, and you need your iPhone to be on like voice memos, and you need to talk to yourself all the time. It really helps. So just to show you guys some of the harmonies that I do, I have like a little harmonic clip. And these are just some video clips. In my work, I work a lot with like mirrors and phones and reflections and just different things that I feel like really help me to explore what my work is about, which is like identity and just like honing in on myself. So yeah, I do some of these this week. Covered a Hollaback Girl, but I remixed it, and then I made this like clip of me in my room, and it got like 10,000 plays on like Instagram, which is really cool. So now people know I can make really good remixes. So what I'm gonna leave with you guys is to just use the internet as a tool to like have it as a extension of yourself rather than a performative, shallow place to just get likes. It's really good to just find people that you want to work with, and sometimes people might say no, sometimes people might ignore you, but the best thing to do is to just find someone else who might just be on the same level as you working wise. Maybe they're not just as popular, but it's good to build with people. And it's okay if people tell you no. I get told no too, even though I've done so much in my career, but that helps with growing and becoming a better artistic person. Thank you.
Can we just give Anaja a hand clap?
I want to echo what Brianna was saying and thank you all for coming out. We really appreciate you all showing us support and coming together as a collective to celebrate Black women. It truly means a lot. Our community needs it. So seeing all of you all turn out is really amazing and wonderful. I also have the honor of introducing our next panelist. So Jewel Cadet is a Brooklyn, New York native, born to Haitian parents. A strong believer that the revolutionary spirit runs through her veins, she fights for the most marginalized in every way that she can. She is deeply rooted in the concerns, rights, and freedom of Black girls, femmes, trans and cis women. As an activist, community organizer, and facilitator, Jewel prides herself on being grounded in the needs of people. So that's just a little taste of what she's about. So I'm going to allow her to come and talk about herself. Get all give a round of applause.
So I see that some of her stuff is still up here, so maybe some support. But how y'all doing? Good. All right, cool. So, as stated, I am Jewel Cadet, and I'm from Brooklyn. I like to open with that. You're from Brooklyn? So, I mean, I could get up here and do an amazing presentation. Assuming to what was before me, that was outstanding. She's 21, I'm 31. I was like, oh, she did a lot. You know? So shout out to that. Shout out to all the Black women in the room. I will say too, like this is also like really beautiful to like see. Sometimes we go to these spaces and we see a lot of white women and they come up to me and they make all these comments and I'm all like, so this is really beautiful. So thank y'all for being in this space, right? Right. So what I'm gonna do is I have shout out to my friend who her name is Jamila Felix, a young Black woman who is about to graduate from Brooklyn College. See, that's what happens when I get on. I'm shutting it down. That's what I'm about to show some real stuff, like some like bubbly stuff, right? There's a fire. The folder.
Writing's not that easy.
Oh,
but
that's
Grammarly can help. This sentence is grammatic.
Are you helping? Thank you. That would be great. Yeah, so I know my time is about to be up soon, but as you can see, I do a lot of things. So from teaching Zumba, but I call it Melanin in Motion, specifically for Black people, only Black people, not POC, but Black people. And I mentioned that piece around masculinity because women typically come, but we've had non-binary folks come as well. And people are like, well, I feel like it's designed for women. I'm like, is it? Or is it designed for people who feel comfortable to move their bodies in the ways that this is, right? So just thinking about that. But as I close out, I chose one piece of my activism that I wanted to highlight specifically because, you know, I'm in front of Black women right here. So talking about J. Marion Sims, have folks seen this painting before? So J. Marion Sims, quick little excerpt on him. He is known as the father of gynecology, and there was a statue that was in Harlem that was revering him for what he did, which was purchase Black women and girls who were enslaved and use them for medical experimentation on their bodies without anesthesia, and anesthesia did exist. So this painting also is inaccurate because what it looks like is a subdued version. What it really was a massacre, right? So what we did, we meaning Black Youth Project 100, this picture went viral in 2017 in August. I'm homegirl with the head wrap. And Black Youth Project 1, we came together and we were like, okay, this is during the time when people were talking about the racist statues in Charlottesville. And people were saying, okay, we need to take this down. We're like, well, what about this statue right here? Which not only, you know, was about some like, is really uplifting white supremacy, but misogyny as well, right? And the hatred of Black women. So we got up there, put on some gowns. One of the organizers worked at the, interned at the Academy of Medicine right across the street, so we was able to get some gowns. She made some mock blood. We had that passed on us. I'm not gonna have a quick video clip, but I'm not gonna have time for that. But of the action, but it's on YouTube and things like that. If you look it up, J. Marion Sims. And just wanting to highlight just pictures as I close out me. And this picture also was on like the news and things like that. When I think about this picture in this day, this was the only statue that the city decided to unanimously remove out of all the statues that were put up. And I believe that this effort to remove the statue was an effort that was going on for about 8 years. But East Harlem Preservation, there are a lot of people in the community who were trying to get rid of it. But it wasn't until we did this action that we have to put our body on the line and have a gory image of what J. Marion Sims has done, have done to Lucy, Betsy, Arnica, and 11 unnamed people. And how Black women and people who have a uterus and things like that are still to this day seen as if we don't feel pain, because that was the piece around not having anesthesia, right? So when I go to the doctor, I'm sure many of you go to the doctor, it's this piece around like, oh, we're strong Black women, you know, we're good, we don't need this, we don't need that, and all of this stuff still plays out till this day. So in closing, just wanting to just think about the passion of activism and the power and that Black women are still putting our bodies on the line. And although we are magical and lit, we still feel pain, right? And we still put our bodies on the line so that people can hear us and see us. So thank y'all for hearing me and seeing me.
Another round of applause, y'all. Gigi's gonna come up and introduce our next panelist, who we're also excited to have with us today. I'm not tech savvy, but I can text you.
All right. How are y'all feeling? Y'all feeling good? Are y'all feeling inspired? Y'all learning? Y'all are so like reserved and solemn. I love it. I'm just like, what's up? Okay. So we're gonna get right into it. We have our next panelist for you all to come and share some things with you, share her experience, share her space. So before we welcome her, let me give another brief introduction for Miss Elise Fox, who is a director, activist, and tastemaker living in New York City. In December of 2016, Elise released documentary films about her rise through depression named Conversations with Friends, and after its debut was flooded with hundreds of requests from young girls around the world seeking guidance and support with their mental health journeys. And so, in 2017, Elise created the Sad Girls Club, a stigma-free online and IRL community created for millennials and Gen Zers to discuss mental health openly. So let's welcome her into the space. We're going to give a warm welcome and applause for Miss Elise Fox.
Hi, everybody. Can you hear me okay? Is this microphone working? Okay, cool. So I'm Elise Fox, and I am a Brooklyn-based director and activist and model and other things. And I'm just here to talk about like how my experience with vulnerability has created something that I would have never expected or could even dreamt of doing. I'm a filmmaker, been into film since I was young. Like Stanley Kubrick is like my guy. I've always liked really, really dark and gloomy films. And I grew up in a Caribbean household where mental health was never a conversation. Like talking about your feelings was never anything that was highlighted or even allowed. And whenever I would like even have some type of emotion, it's like keep that in the house. Do not let anybody know why you're crying, and like be strong. So I never had the language growing up to talk about depression, anxiety, and all these things that I was feeling internally. And I would always kind of look at my peers and look at the people around me and kind of see like, oh, they're enjoying life like more than me. They're happier than me. We're in the same space. I'm getting great grades and I'm playing sports. I'm hella active, but I feel like I'm not living the same life as my peers. And in 2015, I started a film production company with my best friend Brent, who's in the front, called Produce by Girls. And we basically saw like this need within society. So I think I left off with telling you about my first company, Produced by Girls, which is basically a film company created for femmes to basically have a platform to tell their stories in a way that wasn't being shown. And we created it around the time when like Odd Future was kind of like popping off. I don't know if you remember Odd Future. And ASAP Mob had like all of this press, but there were still like really dope artists that were coming out, like Kali Uchis and like just like a lot of new artists, and the only thing that we would see is like Nicki Minaj, Nicki Minaj, Nicki Minaj. So we wanted to highlight artists who didn't have the platform to tell their stories and to basically let them have a chance to be vulnerable. And my best friend and I, we shot the pilots. We shot like 5 or 6 episodes. And within about 6 months, we were on Apple TV, being streamed on a few platforms and on Roku as well. And I just like learned so much from just these women being artists, but also being able to tell their story in a way that was so unfiltered and a way that I've never ever seen it before, especially as women of color. And I continued, I lived in Los Angeles, my best friend lived in New York, and I've used film as my way of kind of communicating with my friends and family about what I was feeling internally, what I was going through and what I was experiencing. And I was in a really, really crazy abusive relationship, and at the end of early 2016, I had a suicide attempt and was kind of moved back to New York City after that experience. And I kind of like was working for myself, had my own company. I wasn't making a lot of money. Like I was just kind of living, living minimally. And once I got back to New York, everything had changed. My neighborhood was gentrified. I had been gone for 5 years. I had this really cool company, and everyone assumed that my life was like dope. It was lit. But that whole year, I just took a step back and I just started filming myself. And I took like little gems that I learned from the girls that I filmed throughout my history of Produced by Girls. And I just saw like how they were able to be vulnerable, how they were able to tell their stories, how they were able to have feelings and be so proud and empowered in their feelings. And I just kind of like shot a film about myself and saying to my friends and family, like, hey, I know all these cool things are going on, but I'm suffering internally. And at the end of 2016, I released the film, and it was like, high-key was gonna be like a show-off film to my ex, like look at all this cool shit that I did at the South by Film 21, like it was gonna be the show-off thing, but I changed the narrative to be more vulnerable. I wanted to tell my story, to tell people around me like, yeah, all these amazing things were happening, and perception is definitely key, and I'm not who I really say that I am. I'm suffering, I'm crying all the time, I'm super depressed, I can barely leave the house, and I'm like high-key broke. So I wanted to have this film and show people and show girls around the world like, it's okay to not be okay. It's okay to tell your story. It's okay to be vulnerable. And through that vulnerability, I created Sad Girls Club. The reception from the film was instant. I released it on a Friday. I actually released it on my birthday that year. I deleted the Instagram app because I was like shook that I was going to be judged, and my family and friends would kind of just like look down on me. But when I re-downloaded the app, I just saw such great positive feedback, and a lot of the women who reached out to me were 11, 12-year-olds who lived in like Paris and who lived in London and who lived in China, and they just wanted help and support with their journey and their mental health journey. So I just said I could either say thank you and like keep it moving, or I can create something that's a lot bigger for us. And I think that as I became older and learned from my experiences, I never want my niece or my little cousins to go through what I went through and to do it alone and just to suffer alone. So I created Sad Girls Club on Instagram, and we basically are a club for women. We're the largest nonprofit organization with a focus on millennial and Gen Z help that talks about mental health amongst millennials and Gen Zs, and also creates a platform, and not only just a platform, but a community around something that was so stigmatized for so many years. And within a few months, I met so many amazing girls of all ages from around the world, and we've hosted about 55 events since then. It's been about a year and a half, and we got our nonprofit status, and now we can finally start like fundraising and like taking this thing on the road. But I just wanted to show you a video of the girls that I've met and how them being a part of the club and showing and seeing how vulnerable I was, and seeing and listening to other girls' stories helped them become more vulnerable and more accepted and more passionate about speaking about their feelings within their friend groups, families, among students in their class, and their teachers as well. So I just want to show this to you.
I'm Scarlett Curtis, I'm 22 years old, and I have depression, anxiety, and PTSD.
I have major depression, psychotic features, generalized anxiety disorder, and trichotillomania. I have a lot of anxiety, and I struggled with depression in the past.
I suffer from depression.
My mental illnesses are major depressive disorder, general anxiety disorder, and post-traumatic stress.
Diagnosed with bipolar disorder, and the jury's still out, but
DID, which is like dissociative identity disorder.
My formal diagnosis was last year, but I had been basically experiencing symptoms since maybe 7th or 8th grade.
Trichotillomania when I was 11 years old, generalized anxiety around the same time, and major depression 6 months ago.
I just walked into a mental health center at my school, and then I had some conversations with my therapist, and then I told her about some of the behaviors that I've been noticing that were hindering with my work performance with my projects and my classes in general. So yeah,
I had been getting bullied in school pretty badly, and I just remember like after that horrible school year ended, I would just be like sitting at home, and I remember my mom just being like, "You just can't do anything. Like, I just don't think you're happy right now."
It does feel like kind of like a bomb is exploding a little bit, because I have them at really strong moments. It's not consistent, because I think my anxiety, I really block it out during like majority of the time.
Growing up in a very conservative Chinese family, mental health kind of did not exist. I don't know, it's like very hard growing up in that environment, being told that you need to be strong and that your like family issues doesn't exist outside of your house.
I grew up in a Black household that didn't really talk about mental illness very much.
Rebellious at that age. I was very reluctant to take care of myself or taking anyone else's advice because I was so stuck in my ways.
I don't like Western medications or supporting pharmaceutical companies, so I do all the hippie shit.
I've been at talking therapy for 6 months, and I've been on a new antidepressant for the last 6 months called Trintellix, which has been really helping me.
I don't know, I think when I got to understand myself better, I invested more time in things that I really enjoyed. So I love to act, sing as well, writing. I read a lot of poetry, which I think Sad Girls Club is amazing in that way. And those are just ways that I can channel my emotions.
I do a lot of meditation, I do a lot of reading, and I use art therapy kind of. I draw, I sit in parks for hours and just like think.
Wake up, I cook for myself, I go out, get some sunlight, sit in the park, drink tea. I do things that add to my little bit of happiness.
Well, I'm a real busy bee, so I stay busy. I'm a writer. I do poetry.
I think if I was going to talk to a younger girl or talk to my younger self, I would just say be kind to yourself. And that is the easiest thing to say, but treat it as if it's an illness. Treat it as if you have broken your leg or you've got the worst cold in the whole world.
I would say to keep going. That's sort of a mantra that I live by every day now.
Your fears are all in your head, and that it is okay to shine, even though other people fear that you might be greater than them, and that you don't have to shrink yourself in order to be a part of the crowd.
Talk to someone and stop internalizing everything. Share yourself with someone, and you just never know who shares that same experience with you.
What I love about Sad Girls Club is that it's pretty easy to connect through music or makeup or, certain things obviously online, Beyonce. But it's so hard for us to feel connected through something that's so stigmatized. And these girls literally have never met each other, got in a room, and we're just so vulnerable and we're able to tell their stories and connected. And some of these girls, like a few of them started a band together, a couple of them went on vacation together. And the fact that they're able to talk about something that they can't discuss in their own home or within their own friend group is so powerful to me. And that's kind of like what I want to share with Sad Girls Club is like, don't be afraid to be vulnerable. If you have a classmate, a dorm roommate, or anything, like it's so important to have an outlet to talk about your feelings, the good feelings and the bad feelings. If you have a friend and they're your real friend, they can accept your good feelings and your bad feelings because that's you. It's a part of you. So I want to do this like one little small activity and to just basically promote vulnerability. But close your eyes for a second and for 10 seconds, name everybody in your life that you love. Name them. In your head, sorry. As many as possible. Now open your eyes. 30 out of 100. This is what we need to do. We need to start thinking about what we need. We need to start loving ourselves first before we love anybody else. You can't love anybody else until you love yourself. So practice vulnerability. If you need help with that, you can DM me, Elise.Fox on Instagram. And we have Cypress Club events coming up all throughout May because it's Mental Health Awareness Month. So you can just follow us on the gram at Cypress Club. But thank you for having me.
This is powerful. Okay, so our fourth and final panelist goes by the name of Fran Medina, or Hey Fran Hey. She is a wellness-based advocate based out of Harlem, New York. And after years of battling a painful chronic illness and then healing herself through studies of alternative medicine, nutrition, and fitness, she became the spokesperson for more conscious day-to-day living, and Hey Fran Hey was born. Currently, she's 1/3 of the Loudspeakers Network podcast, The Friend Zone, and we are so excited to have her. So if y'all could welcome her into this space, give it up for Fran. Oh, you guys can hear me? Hi, beautiful ones. I love it. Thank you. This is intense. I didn't know it was like podium and mics and stuff. So, hey, beautiful ones. I'm Francesca Medina, known as Hey Fran Hey on the internet. I love that you ended speaking about vulnerability because that is my brand. I'm 10 years in the game now. I actually just hit 10 years in March, which is amazing. 2009 was when this all kicked off for me, and like she read in the bio. I feel like you guys know these stories already, so I'm not gonna take too much of your time, but yeah, it all stems from a chronic illness. So this definitely was not in the plans to be an influencer. At that time, you know, it was like Napsho 85, shout out to Whitney and Taryn, and we were just doing our hair stuff, so it wasn't so much trying to be an influencer. We were not making money at all. Our cameras were janky, and it was just more so trying to figure out how to do my hair. But I kind of took the health-based niche because my hair had fallen out. So it wasn't just about trying to get the right curls, but it was more so about how to integrate health and a holistic perspective into getting beautiful curls and figuring out the root of the problems and why my health was failing at the time. And those of you that know, it was that I was just dealing with a lot of kidney infections. So it was just a year of being very sickly. The kind of, I always say you either take the time out to tap into yourself and see what's going on when you have aches and pains and hair falling out, or the universe will do it for you. And it definitely sat my ass down in 2009. So what ended up happening is that I jumped on Tumblr when it was popular. And I don't know if anyone remembers my Tumblr blog, but that's where it all started, funny enough, where I just was swapping green juices. If y'all remember, I used to swap fitness, things I was doing to kind of regenerate my organ health and my body and just my life as a whole, jump-starting it. From that, Cheska Lee, who was one of my best friends, was like, I think you would be great on YouTube. And I was like, people are so mean, I really don't think. I was like, you know, I think that's overwhelming, I'm sensitive. But I jumped on, videos did amazing. It actually became my main platform. Tumblr kind of started losing steam after a while, so the timing was divine. And then I went from making YouTube videos, and then the YouTube landscape kind of started changing a little bit. It was like the natural hair scene could kind of, I won't say died down, because look at all this beautiful natural hair here, but as far as it being commercial, I think people kind of like knew what leave-ins they needed, and we didn't have to keep showing them videos about it. So then I got the opportunity to create a wellness and mental health-based podcast titled The Friend Zone, as well as Issa Rae contacted me and Crystal, if anyone knows Crystal from the Read, and we created Insecurity, which is
the official recap podcast. So I think it's been shocking, if anything, to see that from an illness and me just looking for community and conversation and answers and trying to find the answers and creating access where there weren't answers, it turned into a full-fledged career, which is shocking but beautiful. I've literally just been following the breadcrumbs. When people ask me what's your 5-year plan, I'm like, today, that's all I'm focused on. Today feels good. That's as much as I can tell you. That's the only place I want to be, because as present as I stay is how I stay in flow to know what the next move is. My business has been heart-centered, which has been a blessing. As most of you that follow me know, I don't really play into the game, but I'm just as successful as my peers, and it's been a blessing to show and kind of be an example that you can really be your own business model and not have to follow any formulas. I post on Instagram maybe once a month, if that. I don't even know what it is at this point. I actually just did my first post of the year. Yeah, it's that real. So that's exciting to me, though, that I don't feel like I have to oversaturate the market with my presence to be felt. I'd rather have something to say, I'd rather have something to share, and when it hits, it hits. And with the podcast, initially, our friends at the Read, they was extremely popular, and so they brought us on to have our own version of the Read, and I was like, if I'm involved, it's not going to be that. I knew immediately that I didn't want to discuss pop culture, and if I did want to discuss pop culture, it was more so extracting the lessons that we could pull from what people are going through as opposed to talking about them. So there was just different ways that I wanted to tweak it. We were not so well received early on, which was hard because people wanted, they didn't want to talk about mental health. They were like, if you look at our early comments in 2015 on iTunes, it's like, too many feelings, I'm not here for this shit. I got too much going on in my life, I'm not trying to hear y'all talk about your lives, which I understood. But I also knew that we would be there when people were ready to connect on that level. And so I stayed in my home frequency and my integrity of that being what I felt called to speak on, because I feel that's the best way to have an authentic and powerful brand, is if you speak on what you are being called to speak on, as opposed to what's expected of you, what your peers are speaking on. I'd rather be a magnet than a chaser. And so that's the only way I could stay in flow and be a magnet, was by speaking about the things that, the books that were coming to me that, you know, I mentioned the other day that I almost canceled Audible just because I hadn't been using it. And then ended up finding a ton of new books that just kind of popped up. My friend and I call that nudgy. It's like a person we created, where we just say, you know, oh, Nudgy sent me this book today. You know, but that's when people say, because we're 186 episodes in with the podcast, which is pretty insane to think that I've produced 186 conversations. And normally people are like, how do you find things to say? And I'm like, how do we not? You know, I've never had a week where I felt scared or anxious that we wouldn't have a topic, and I think we're getting stronger as the show is growing. I love the mixture of comedy. I love the mixture of loud comedy. You know, it shows that we're multi-dimensional. And to be honest, that was a lot of the pushback initially, because people felt, you know, if I'm coming on here to get my Super Soul Sunday, I'm not trying to hear about the Real Housewives of Atlanta. You know what I mean? But I'm like, why not? There are people in the world that listen to Super Soul and then want to know what's happening with Nene Leakes. I don't, but my peers do. And so I love providing an outlet where you can feel free to be all parts of you and laugh at them and connect with people on that level. And so to sum it all up, I think it's been a beautiful journey because I haven't wavered from executing it exactly how I wanted to execute it. And I'm thankful, I'm proud, I'm so fully present, and growing more successful and successful by the year, which to me is what keeps me going. Because it's beautiful to know that you really don't have to turn anything on, you just have to kind of go within, and all the information is there. And so as long as I stick to this plan,
everything will always fall into place. And that's it. Thank you. Do we ask questions?
How are you? I'm just starting to develop my thesis work, which I'm hoping will deal with sort of the conundrum of being a Black woman in a corporate space. And one of the things I struggle with personally is trying to develop allies that aren't Black women. And I'm just wondering if any of you can speak to it, how you sort of deal with finding allyship in people who are innately contradictory to like supporting and essentially being Black.
Hello. Okay. I work with a lot of non-Black people on a day-to-day basis. Like, my manager is Black, but my agent is not. And when I go to these spaces, I have to really pay attention to like microaggressions, specifically more so than like blatant racism, because you're not going to really get that in 2019. Like, it's not, especially in New York, then you don't really see that in a corporate space unless it's like obvious. But for me, I try to, since I'm working, I try to keep it at like an arm's length with people. Try not to let them be too close, especially as a Black woman. I feel like the stereotypes that people place on us are very visible in terms of the way that we look. And it's really hard to not take what people say to heart, especially when it comes to our hair or like just weird questions about like anything. So I feel like for me, it's really about just not taking things so personal. And it's really hard because we are all so like emotional beings and we're all like femmes and women. But I feel like when you are working with non-Black people, you gotta just sometimes like turn it off. Like I just like completely like disassociate in a way. Because sometimes if you don't, you're gonna drive yourself crazy, especially like in corporate space, and not everyone's gonna be on your side. And it's really hard to not be labeled as the angry Black person. But if I ever need to verbalize what I have to say, never hesitate to, because then that's a learning experience for other people. And it makes the world a better place when you do speak up. It's just always like a 3-strike rule for me. Like, I'll give you 3 times, but the 3rd time, I'm gonna have to let you know, like, what you're doing wrong.
I also think too, with any type of group or partnership that you're trying to have, whether it's at work or friendship, you kind of like have this feeling of like developing your own tribe, right? Like you want to have people around you who understand you, who believe in your beliefs, and it's not always going to happen, especially with people who are from different cultures and grew up in a completely different way than you. But you will have those people. Like I have so many people who have supported me in spaces that I would have never expected. And I've been in spaces with people of color and I haven't had that much support, but I've also been very particular about the energy that I put out, and I don't accept any type of energy that isn't working for me, working for my brand, working for my end goal. So it's kind of just like filtering out those people. They don't have to be your best friends if you just have to have a work relationship with them. Like that's it. We don't have to be homies. We don't have to talk outside of this. We're here to get things done, and that's it. But it's also developing the people in your tribe that also have those same beliefs as you, and being very particular about your energy and not just like letting everyone have access to you in those type of ways, because you need that allyship, or you need that partnership, or you need these kind of connections. Just like I can have a connection, you don't have to have the friendship necessarily. So kind of just separating that, and you can also choose to educate them if they step out of line, but it's also not your responsibility to educate grown ass people when Google exists and everything, Thank you.
Hi. I asked this on Ask FM, but I don't know if it went through, so I'm going to ask in person. So I asked, since 2013, I've been doing extensive trial and error with my apothecary business. Fran, I met you a few years ago at the Palm Pet wine shop, and I had that little like box of like random accessories and everything. I was not ready then. I was just eager to gift you something. But now, all these years later, I feel like I've reached the point where I know what my packaging is going to be. I have like the numbers, the cost of goods. I have like my marketing materials, and I'm stuck. And it's like, the question is, what information or documents do I need to have to present to investors, and where do I find them? I like how everyone Right, it's for everyone. It's not just for Fran. I was just referencing it. To be honest, that's kind of not my world as far as like investors. Like I mentioned about my talk, I've magnetized, and the best way that I've done that has been, I would suggest, like on the friend zone, I shout people out, so you can just give me your information, and I'll definitely send you traffic. But send it to influencers. Like, our power is very evident. That's why brands rather work with us than pay for commercials on television. Because if you were to send it to a key amount of influencers and everyone sees that, you know, you guys that follow my work, I post one thing and it's sold out within 24 hours, whether it's indie, whether it's commercial, it doesn't really matter. And we've jump-started a lot of people's careers just by creating that ecosystem, which is my favorite term, of amplification for our community. So I would suggest, you know, the Jackie Inas, who's a friend of mine as well, and she's massive with indie amplification. Myself, there's a ton of, I'm like trying to think, there's Shameless Maya, Cheska Lee, like there's a lot of people that I'm familiar with the network that you always like beam out, and I'll literally have a list of them, but I'm just like in this place where I'm just like, I want to send it to people, but I always feel like I'm not ready, or like I'm Aries sun, so I'm ready to like jump on the idea, but then I'm Cancer moon, so no, Cancer rising, so I'm like, no, not yet. It has to be like all of the things ready so I can say I have all of these things rather than like just starting where I'm at. And then I'm Virgo moon, so I'm just like, I'm not telling anyone. I'm just gonna like loathe and be happy that I'm a genius and no one knows. I'm not gonna share. So I get, I stop myself short when I feel like I don't have everything ready, or I need to get like this bottle, I need to like get all these tiny little pieces in order before I show anyone, or before I tell it. I haven't taken any like product photos. I just like took the bottle picture off of the supply website, and I just always feel like I'm not bringing it, but I know that there is a magnetization like within me too, because anytime I share it with people, it's always like a really long talk, and I'm like genuinely connecting, but I just get discouraged when it's like I sign up for a flea market or something, and the weather would just like not bring anyone down. Like I take that to the core, but I just don't know. I don't know any
a deck like for your business.
No,
that helps me so much. Like for Fabulous Club, visualize what I actually wanted to do, and it puts it in a structure of like it breaks down everything. You should be answering the who, what, when, why. Like all those questions within your brand. Who are you trying to market to? Why are you trying to market to them? What's the need? What's, you know, just kind of get your numbers together. So when you reach out to people, if they have any questions, you're like, I can send you my deck like that. And then you don't have to keep editing, or you don't have to speak for yourself if you don't want to. You can just send out your deck, has all of those answers. And I can show you if you want like some examples of decks that work really well for me. But it just answers those questions for you. And then once you start answering those questions, and like I'm a very visual person, you can see like, oh, I'm missing something here, or like this might be a little bit too much, or like I don't need to spend all this money on these bottles, and this one is more like cost conscious, or you know, whatever route you want to take. But I would say like structuring a deck, and it can do it in like the Google Slides like tab. You don't have to pay for anything or Keynote or anything, but that's helped me like really visualize what I want to do, and also plan for the future of my company and my brand. And you don't have to speak, you just send it out, and that's really good. That the investors really love to see that, because it's like on paper, all of your numbers are on paper, and all your statistics and all the analytics are in one place, and you can just show up and be like, that's me, I'm in, here's my product, and try it out, but like everything is here for you.
Yeah, that is very legit, because I'm very adamant about not being corny, so I just don't want to like, just be like, everyone take a picture with this, and you just posting pictures of people holding it. I mean, that works for some, but I just want the product to speak for itself. I don't want to be the poster child, I don't want to be in the picture. Everything that I'm envisioning for marketing, it doesn't involve me being seen at all. So
but also, I just want to suggest, because you're pinging me of how I used to be, don't overthink it. This is supposed to be fun. This is supposed to be a contribution that you're sharing with the world. As soon as you start overthinking, like, I don't want to be in the picture, it has to be perfect, the bottle, then it becomes a business. But this is an offering.
That's the name of my. It's called Wellness Offering. It's an offering, you know, and follow the breadcrumbs. The fact that me and you are sitting right here, and I'm known for amplifying brands. That's a breadcrumb. It's already divinely aligned. So we'll talk, and then thank you to traffic. Thank you.
So I have some of the questions that were asked online. You all can still line up if you want to ask a few more questions. We'll be wrapping up soon. Yeah, okay, we'll be wrapping up real soon. So let's see. The first question I'm going to ask is, how did you get started with activism? Yes.
I got started in activism. I say that I organized my first campaign when I was 8 years old. I always say that. Chocolate milk was taken off the menu.
Oh my God.
Real story. Brooklyn, East New York conversation. It was taken off the menu, and I was like, this is upsetting. And I remember getting up in this classroom and being like, you know, who wants chocolate milk back on the menu? And they were like, me. And I took a piece of loose leaf paper, went around. I didn't know it was called a petition, right? So I went around, I'm like, you believe, sign the paper. You sign the paper. And I asked teachers, can I go to that room, sign the paper too? Then I went to the dean and I was like, I want a meeting with the cafeteria lady. And he's like, I have a meeting with the cafeteria ladies. They sit down. I bring chocolate milk back on the menu and we win. For real when I was 8. But I also do feel that I also believe I'm very spiritually like connected with my ancestors. Talk about being Haitian, and I feel like, and I feel like, yes, I'm about that. And I feel like, you know, my ancestors fought in the revolution, right? And they watched me, they made sure that I'm good, and I feel like I was brought in this world. I came out 3 weeks late, born on 9/11. Think about divine alignment. I feel like I was born, you know, as a way to really like to do this, right? So I feel like I started, I feel like at 8, but I feel like it's always been in me. But the activism that I featured here largely came about in 2014.
I just want to say thank you to all of y'all for being here. Like, it's so inspiring. Yeah, I think just like being at NYU, a lot of the times you're just surrounded by like not your people. So like to be standing like here watching y'all, it's like amazing. But my question is basically like, I'm someone who's interested in activism as well, but also like interested in using social media as a tool to like build my personal brand. So I guess like, how would you go about like gaining agency for like your personal brand when like maybe the things that you have to say aren't always supported by like mainstream media? So like F the patriarchy and like F white supremacy and like all of those things. If I were to be bold in my activism and things like that, I'm sure lots of brands that I like might like shy away from like sponsoring me or whatever. But I don't know, I guess I'm just like interested in knowing how you built your brand and like if you had an agent at a young age or like now, whenever, how you went about doing that. Yeah, sorry I'm nervous because like I look up to all of y'all, so I just like
I mean, I can take the activism piece real quick. For me, I don't. I do it for the people who came before me, the people who's coming after me, right? So like my godmother is here, 16, and like watching all of y'all, right? And so for me, I'm not connected to like the brands and the sponsors. That's just like maybe other people close to mechanical speak on that. I will say that people do want to hear it, like, right? So people, when I say fuck the police and like fuck the patriarchy and fuck the, like people are like, guys, right? But then you do have people in my DMs who are like, that's racist. I'm like, I can't be racist, I'm a black person. Or like, you know, people, you do have trolls, but I do it for the people. I do it because it's in my spirit. So I think it depends on what you want. And I think the brands who do rock with that are gonna rock with that, and those who don't won't. But for me, every time I walk away from the activism that I do, and I'm like, this is powerful, right? So even if it doesn't make the daily news, or it doesn't, you know, like the J. Marion Sims action went viral. However, on the day of, it actually was like about 35 people there, maybe 40, and predominantly white. So we actually have parts of the activism where we're like, if you are not black, you cannot say this chant. And it was white, because there was a lot of people who were there who were not black. So Now it reached people through social media, right? And that's how it reached like, you know, 1 million people, whatever, that picture. But the people actually there that day who actually saw the posting that we did and cared about Black women didn't really come out, to be honest with you. So I think it's, you know, so just being mindful of where you're doing it from and what you're doing it for, and that's what matters. That's my opinion.
For me, when I started online, I started being, I didn't start like being cutesy girl posting videos and stuff. I was actually very politically like ridiculous. I wasn't even like trying to be like aware of like other people. I was just very outspoken. I was on my debate team when I was in high school, and I was the director of debate, so I was always saying like crazy stuff. I was always putting the white kids in their place because they would be saying crazy stuff because it was student ran. So I would go online and I would post pictures of my hair, and I would be like, y'all don't like it? Well, I wax now because I'm model, but like it's like sometimes it's a compromise. Obviously, if you want to like, you need to. As Black people, survival is nuanced, and you want to be able to make money and not put your money on the line because you have something to say. But for me, I never ever considered even not speaking out against what is wrong. And you know, if there are brands that don't want to work with me because of that, then they don't need to be working with me. Like I'm always going to speak about being a woman, being a Black person, and being a Black woman in general. And that's also why I'm part of the Art Collective. I work with people who are non-binary, gender non-conforming people. And our whole idea and what we do is for the people. And I feel like if you ever want to just say something, do not be afraid to say it, regardless of who's gonna be accepting to it or not. Like, you're a Black person. They know what it is before they even come to you about what it is. So, yeah.
If they don't want to work with you because of something you said that you strongly believe in, like, you don't want to work with them anyway. I remember before I announced I was pregnant, I was like, damn, I want to wait because I don't know if this company's gonna work with me. And my friends were like, if they don't want to work with you because you're having a baby, like, you don't want to work with them. It's like, that's a fact. So it's like, you have to be true to yourself, and you have to, if it doesn't come from like a place of love and a place of like truth, you're going to be faking online, and that's not what you really have, what you really want to do, because it's hard to keep that lifestyle up. People are going to start seeing through it. So stick to what's true to you. If you want to say fuck the patriarchy and this person did this and it's actual facts, and like, speak on it.
Yeah. But I will say, when you say fuck the police though, then fire alarms go off when you're on the stage. So sometimes it's a little murky, but just saying, be careful.
Thank you.
We have this amazing young person right here, dressed to the nines, toe to tip. Can we talk about it? And then they're going to be our last question of the evening, and we're going to slice the cake. So thank you.
Thank you for that. Alright, my name is Dennis. I'm one of the founders of Black Brothers United along with Leisha. We recently just had a mental health panel discussing mental health within the Black community, more focused on Black men. And one of my panelists stated that one of the issues is that with the panel, I noticed there was a lot of women that came to the panel and to discuss the mental issues facing Black men. But when I'm looking around, I don't notice a lot of brothers out here to support this issue. So I wanted to know, like, what message can you give me so that I can give to the people that I'm following and give to my brothers, so that, because I feel like there needs to be unity between us, and that's the only way we can fight this fight. And I just wanted to hear y'all thoughts on that.
I definitely would say, like, it's always the hardest step to do, but like, there's little to no representation for men of color who are speaking about their mental health or things that have happened to them. You see like Terry Crews, who's like the epitome of like the epitome of a Black man, and he's getting shunned for talking about his experiences in a way that's like crazy. It's like he's talking about being molested, and it's like, why isn't this being nurtured, and like, why are you not supporting him? But I think that he's actually opening the doors for a lot of other young men who talk about mental health and mental health awareness. We actually just launched a branch of Sad Girls Club called Sad Boys Club, where we are creating spaces for Black men to have these conversations and for them to feel safe in a place that they're around people who look like them. We've hosted 2 events so far, and they've been sold out completely because we are beginning to show that representation. And I know you might not, it's like with Instagram, like you might get 5 likes on a post when you're very vulnerable, but you get those insights and you see like, oh, 1,000 people have checked this out. You know, people are always looking, people are always watching, and you are inspiring people, even if, like, just by being yourself and telling your story. And storytelling is the oldest form of like history. We've kind of lost that with social media. So I love like when I'm able to dish and like talk about mental health in like 2 paragraphs on Instagram, and it's like people are reading this and you know, taking it in, they see themselves in my story, and that's what these communities are built for. They're social media communities. They're here for us to build friendships and bonds with one another, but you just taking the step and creating these spaces. It's gonna be slow. Like our first Cypress Club meeting had 12 to 15 girls, and now we have meetings that have over 150 people who show up, because slowly but surely people started hearing about it, and sometimes it takes time for those conversations to happen. And you know, if it's a very grassroots approach, like that's fine, as long as you help out that one man or this one woman of color support a man in her life, then you're doing your job. Like trust me, you're doing your job, and it might seem slow and it might seem like you're not helping, but you absolutely are. And if you want to talk to us about that later, we're hosting a ton of events for men of color within the mental health world, and we talked to Jocko, who's the face of Sad Boys Club, and we would like absolutely love to have you and support you in any way.
I think in terms of accessibility too, because this is typically how it is. So if you think about the problematic Women's March, it was something. I'm glad thoughts and feelings. We'll talk later. I actually wrote something about it. And a lot of the times, men just don't show up for Black women. It's just a fact, right? And for me, I say as soon as you hear, I was like, oh cool. Like I immediately saw me an album was dope. But like I also like saw you, right? You stood out to me, but I'm like, how do you bring 5 or 6 people with you, right? Even if you gotta trick them and say we're about to go to this basketball game, and then you're like, boom, we at NYU, about to the Black people, right? How do you in the barbershop, as you get your fade or whatever, right? Or like whatever, you know, thing on the side, and be like, hey bro, like if we're cutting your hair, have a conversation about mental health, right? Like ease it in, because I did activism one time where we disrupted a basketball game in Harlem, and dudes were they were so upset about the game being disrupted, and we're talking about murder, like the murder of Black women, the murder of Black cis and trans women. They were not trying to hear it. They're like, move out the way, we're trying to make this shot, right? So it's like, how do you, as a Black man, disrupt these spaces that I wouldn't be able to do, right? Because when I do it, I'm sexualized. When I do it, all these things are happening to me, but you have an opportunity to do that. So to me, I'm like, thank you for being here. And next time, trick the boys in the comments.
So I've been doing my tours for 3 years now that were based around mental health. The first year was just for women, because I want to create a safe space for Black women. But the third year, we opened it up to everyone, and not one man came. But what I did find interesting is that men were constantly DMing me, asking me when I was going to start the tour for men. And I thought that was fascinating. Now I understand we've been socialized in a way where we are closer to our feelings and more nurturing. So they're looking at me like to be a mule in a way and do the labor to get them talking. But I think you asking us what you should say, when I think the reality is you should sit with your vulnerability, because that's where all the data is. That's where all the information, that's what the connection, the emotional thread, that information you have that we can't provide, that we don't have access to, we're not men, that's what you have to offer, that's what you have to share, and that's what will bring you people. When I started my tour, it was the same thing with the podcast. I don't want to talk about my feelings. Second year, everyone was like, when's the next tour? You know, like you just have to plant the seed, and it always grows, because anything that's real, people will gravitate to it. It might take time, like she says. It's going to be a slow burn because it's not pop culture conversation. It's not candy. But at the end of the day, everyone wants to eat a meal at some point. You know what I mean? It's just a matter of when their timing is. And your job is to be the home frequency that's always there, so when people and their timing and they're gravitating, you're just there with the information, with the data, with the tour, ready to provide for your community, which is what I've been for the past 10 years. Whether I was popular at it or not, I was always there. And so that's all I have to say about that.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
So I'ma slide this a that mix a match. Now she calls biscuit back. Stunning dash who this now Pichu chose. So I'ma
they said it's all time, yeah, it's all time, yeah, I got it. All time, yeah, I got it. No, wait. And I can't waste time, won't waste time for nobody. Waste time for nobody, no, wait. Cause I got a lot to lose. Scramble up bips about the boo. Wait, and I got a lot to do. I make this shit look possible. It's been a long time, yeah, a long time I've been plotting. A long time I've been plotting, no way.
Hang around with your savages, yeah, we cool, never panicking. Yeah, they free like a mannequin, they want beef, let them have it then. My niggas good everywhere we go, all around like a miracle. Where I'm at, yeah, we love to know, skirt, always on the go.
Never catch me losing who you